we need to talk about Oren Novotny just got his.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. And
Christian
Hellang, and
He got it an hour ago.
yeah, it's up on YouTube.
This is
Yippee!
exactly what I wanted to happen.
Can you tweet and I'll retweet it?
Good job, John.
Hooray!
Hooray!
You're tweeting, dude.
Yep.
Tweet.
I'm watching to retweet from the decks.
ASP.NET. Oh.
It is so nice to have a laptop where I can plug all this stuff in and it works. Like it doesn't slow down. It's like
Oren's local, right? Where is Oren located?
No, he's in New York, I believe.
But he's not international, which means he got food.
Not international. Yes. To get the food.
He got the cup of tea.
Yeah, I didn't even realize we had.
And he got the popcorn.
Yep.
This is great. I want to talk about this. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy. This is what I wanted to happen. People love it. Oh, good. All right. Oh, there's me talking about myself, talking about this.
Yes.
Oh, Christian is staying up for us.
So that.
Cool. This is the Nintendo Switch.
Oh my goodness! Have you finished it yet, or how many times have you died?
Have I finished it? Have I finished? No.
Sorry.
Are you playing on Death March level?
You guys, I mean,
do you have dead pixels?
No, I don't have any dead pixels. It's too pretty to have dead pixels.
I saw a thing about Nintendo.
No, crap. It's just...
Is it beautiful?
Look, let's all play together.
Have you played on the TV much?
Yeah, I played on the TV, but look at this. It's so nice, you don't need to. Everyone's like, oh, it's 720p. I don't care.
It's gorgeous.
Look at the volumetric fog, people.
It's got grass. Cell shading, though. Cell shading looks terrible.
I'm just doing a lot of selfies.
Looks great. Is there a camera in the back of it?
There's a camera. Watch. Check this out. So there's actually a selfie feature. So you go in your camera. You go like this. Oops. Oh, crap. I just threw my weapon.
At yourself.
At myself. No, I need to go get that. I can't. Well, I'm holding it up to the camera. Hang on. I got to get that. That's important. He's like, where? What? Huh? All right. Hang on. No, but in the you do the, there it is. You go and do a selfie. See, it says self-portrait.
While you're playing.
Oh, there's a guy walking by. Who's that? Hello, friend. Hello. Come back. Come back here. Who's that?
It's it looks
so
gorgeous.
Is this
it's
Twitch?
just it. I mean, this is Twitch.
This is like a lo-fi Twitch. It's like watch Scott
I would say
Twitch over his webcam.
This thing may be the
4K
greatest.
now. So.
Oh, that's right. So we upscaled from 720p to 4K.
To 4K and then back down to 720p because we're on Hangouts.
It is truly one of the greatest video games in history. And I am not saying that in a hyperbole.
No, I have seen Metacritic is like
Metacritic
10 out of
says it
10 more than anything I've ever seen.
Near perfect. This and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. There's really nothing else.
I was playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out again recently. I have my NES Classic, and I got
You are
to.
obsessed with your NES Classic.
It's so great. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is hard though. I got to the end. Well, it's not Mike Tyson's version; it's the other one. But
so good.
I got to the end of the second round, and it's Mr. The guy after Raging Bull, or Mr. Bull dude, the hippo dude. I can't remember. Anyway, it's hard.
I may get divorced because of this show, because of this game. It's that. I mean, I'm obsessed.
I haven't finished at some point.
I haven't been this. You can't finish. It's too big.
Really?
There's probably 150 hours in this thing.
Yeah, you'll go on a conference trip soon, and then you can just play on the plane and stuff.
And then I'll work from home.
What's that other screen you've got there under your soldering iron or whatever that thing is?
This?
You got a white lamp. No, there's a red bordered screen that's propped up. No, back. That. What's that?
Oh, this. How nice of you to ask.
It's an Etch-a-Sketch.
This is a Latte Panda.
Okay.
A Latte Panda is a full LATTE Panda, full Windows 10 PC.
What
in the
is that
size of
NASA
a
processor?
I don't know.
x86?
I have no idea.
Oh, so when you say full Windows, it's not ARM, it's not IoT.
It says 4 gigs of RAM,
Pretty
64
sure it's
gig.
full x86. Yeah.
See, look.
Looking.
There it is.
Is that like $100 that board?
It's like 69 or something.
We're just getting lens flare.
And the screen is separate?
Yeah, so the screen is separate. It's got a touch screen, and then the red is just a 3D printed case I made.
Okay.
And then what's great about it, and this is from a software engineering perspective, from a hardware, this is so amazing.
Yeah.
It has Arduino on it. Okay.
Oh, so you put shields on it as well and stuff.
So no, what they did, yes, there's a shield thing right there, but that's not the point.
Okay.
So it's got USB 3, it's got HDMI, it's got USB 2, it's got power over a standard micro USB, and it's got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. But here's the part that's amazing. Entirely separate Arduino-based processor. You boot Windows, it makes a virtual COM port back to itself.
Okay.
You then use the Arduino ID. I just think this is so cool.
And then you can get like sensor data from the Arduino operating system through the COM port.
You boot it up, you talk to the Arduino IDE, and then there's 2 buttons when you turn the thing on. One to boot Windows and one to just boot Arduino.
Oh, so the idea is you can use it as like a dev thing with full Windows, and then when you've got it in Arduino standalone mode, you just boot Arduino.
Runs Arduino. Exactly.
So how much is the screen for that thing? Like, what was that? What does that cost?
I think I paid $100 for the whole thing. It was nothing. I mean,
what res is that screen?
720p.
And it's a touchscreen.
It's a touchscreen, yeah.
But if you're going to make like a home automation system or something, and you wanted the full power of Windows,
oh my goodness, you could totally
put them in the wall and stuff, right?
Look, more importantly, you could manage your blood sugar.
Okay,
just saying. Yeah, I'll boot it up while you guys talk about other stuff.
How about if I talk about links, because I have about 1,000.
Hello, everyone.
Can we share Oren's tweet as well and those other tweets? That would be wonderful if you do that, John.
Maybe.
How about I do this? I'll share it and you tell them you say what this is.
Okay.
What is that, John?
Well, I don't know. It's still sharing is in progress. There it is. So we've been sending out these .NET Loves Me thank you packs to community folks.
It just sounds like an extreme extension of John Loves Community.
It is. So, and if you click on that .NET Loves Me tag or hashtag, like there's a bunch of these, right? So we just been sending them out, and .NET loves everybody. .NET loves you, listener. But there are some folks that have been like doing tons of stuff, and we're making an effort to say thank you. So
this is a great initiative that you are doing, John. You are truly a person of the people, man of the people.
This is my dream job here. I'm so happy because I love this stuff. You guys know I love this stuff, and so it's super fun to just say thank you to people and help them out and stuff.
You know, and I think that people get a little wrapped up about, you know, MVP this and MVP that and MSDN accounts and stuff. I think that sometimes if somebody goes and gets Roslyn to run on a Raspberry Pi or whatever, darn it, they deserve a .NET Bot Moleskine notebook and maybe a cup of tea.
So yes. So Axel here, that's a Lapsam Shushong. I don't know how to say it right, but
is that like a fancy tea? Is that an impressive tea?
Fancy tea.
Yeah, it's special. It's Rooibos actually.
Oh, is it? So and then also he didn't use the tag, but Axel here said that his coin was a Bravosi coin, which if you're into Game of Thrones, that's the coin that'll get you.
It's a challenge coin, but you're right. Yeah. It's exciting. So those are going to be going out for lots of people. We're looking at contributions and love in the community.
Cool. All right. So let me share.
Before we move on, I want to give kudos to Scott's internet connection, because for the first time in as long as I can remember, he has the HD symbol on and he doesn't look like crap. So congratulations, Scott.
You're blaming me for this fiasco.
As we do every single week.
320 by 240.
Because John has always looked great, so I know it's on my end. And you look great this week, Scott. So congratulations.
I shaved.
Am I sharing my screen? Can we lock on me?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, let me lock in on you.
Friends, I ask for some patience today because I did a ton of work, but I've studied up on some of these a few weeks ago, and we missed last week's and all that. So, but they're awesome. Okay, so 2 from Damian Bowden. This one, he talks about implementing an audit trail. And so he talks about, like, shouldn't I just use a logger? Maybe. But if you just want to track business events related to your application, here's how to set up an audit trail.
That is very cool.
Yeah, and then use Elasticsearch in order to kind of go through and like go through your audits, right?
I've actually had to work on one of the first big systems I worked on as a web developer at the ambulance service required full audit history of like every field that had changed on everything to do with the system. It's an ISO 9001 thing, and that was fun.
That's really interesting. I did that in banking. It's super hard.
And not only that, but like when you were looking at the form that represented a record, like the user had to be able to go back through the previous versions and see who had made which change to which field. And it was a really fascinating problem.
This is still one of my biggest posts ever. This is on, I set up just
Are you actually
triggers.
putting your own blog up?
I am. I will not include this in the one, but
abuse of power.
So this one I used triggers, and I got so many comments from it.
That's the executive power now. So
yeah. Okay. So Damien Bowden, another from Damien Bowden. This is using. He's just showing off now, but here he's got MVC, or so he's got a protobuf API. So API supporting protobuf now, and he's using he's showing how to test it using HTTP client and XUnit. So when you're using more advanced formats, it can be more difficult, and so this is pretty cool, setting up testing with XUnit and HTTP client. So excellent stuff. Speaking of testing and APIs, this is Jerry Pelser. So he's writing up handling validation responses from a core API. So he talks about like, here's the quick way. You could just set up an attribute. He's like, nah, that's too easy. So then he goes through and does it a custom way. And he talks about how he wants to return custom JSON results and give more information about why the API failed. So Jerry's done tons of great stuff about APIs specifically, and so this is nice. It's not a very long post, but it's nice to see. And I like how he does, here's the easy way, and here's how to customize it. All right, speaking of APIs, here's Tom, and he's talking about creating a versioned, documented core API. So here he's using Swashbuckle, and he's talking about versioning with APIs is difficult, and so here he's talking about how to set up versioning. And then also using Swashbuckle to handle documentation as well.
Scott, did you switch to a drone camera? Is that what's happening right now?
They can't see.
I know, but I can't. Sorry, John.
I'm trying to print the latte panda, and you ruined it for me.
Okay, this one's fun. We've been talking about stuff you can use with .NET CLI, and so this one, oh gosh, surfing the code. I forget your name. I'll know when I get to the bottom. But here.
He's pixeled himself out. That's the problem.
That's true. Well, the easier way, brace yourself for the scroll. I thought it was down here. No, I'm going to have to hit about.
It's an anticlimax.
Alex. Hello, Alex. Okay, so this one's fun. And what Alex did was he shows how to create custom .NET commands. He shows simple ones using just a batch file. He's like, nah, that's too simple. And then he creates one using so here's his simple one, just doing a batch file. But then he said, why don't I do one called .NET Rocks? So of course, .NET Rocks is a .NET CLI that goes out to the .NET Rocks.
I am disappointed that that's not .NET Hanselman, frankly.
Well, it's all in the name. It's .NET Rocks, So anyhow, there you go. That's a fun thing. So. Speaking of, I hope you guys really are appreciating the transitions. I organize these all in a row. So speaking of,
the hard work shows. Also, the number of Chrome extensions you have shows.
Yeah. I want those bigger if I could get those, or a second row. Okay, .NET. So this is Julie writing about how to troubleshoot .NET EF commands specifically for migrations. So if you are using .NET, .NET EF migrate, then here's how to troubleshoot it. So Julie wrote the book on EF literally, and so she's great for any of this kind of stuff. Okay, so New Relic, adding in .NET Core support. So here, I've got two, I've got to click through here. So this is, I think Vincent, so his last name is Soares. Mr. Soares writing about the, first of all, this is his kind of talking about the roadmap for what they're doing for .NET Core support. And then I I clicked through because this was written 23 days ago. And so here he said, we've actually got support that, so they're making the announcement of adding support for error analytics and more. So neat, exciting stuff that they're adding in. Okay, this is Henning, and he's writing about an issue he ran into using slots on ASP.NET Core on app service. So the issue with slots is you're actually switching between deployments, and you can run into an issue with different cryptographic keys. I'm glad I have Damien's undivided attention, because maybe there's something more to this that
that shouldn't happen.
Well, so you can run into a cryptographic exception when switching between slots, right? Because your session state, or whatever we're calling it.
No, but when you're running Azure App Service, our crypto providers out of the box detect that situation specifically, and they store the keys in a shared location between the slots.
Okay,
so this shouldn't happen.
So
is my understanding.
Yeah. Okay. So that was, I believe that as well. And then I kind of clicked through, and there were some open GitHub issues that were saying like, yeah, this works for all these different things, but for slots, not necessarily.
Because I mean, I use slots to control the live ASP.NET website.
Okay.
But I will say that I don't share authentication instances between them, so I'm probably not even if this issue did exist. If the issue does exist, I wouldn't be hitting it because I use different.
The reason you would do this though is if you're doing A/B testing of slots,
and you want it to be the same actual domain.
And very commonly you use A/B testing and what they call testing in production, or TIP.
Yep.
And you would use PowerShell. You'd fire up 5% on staging to see if that's a good idea or not. Then you would want to share your auth.
Right.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think there's value in this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So there is still an open issue on this, and
okay.
so then and also this linked over to the doc. So I'm going to include that in the links. There's some kind of workarounds of how you set it.
This is jogging in my memory now.
Yeah.
Yes, we wrote a Redis-based key storage provider, and we wrote an Azure Blob Storage-based key storage provider, I think.
Yep.
Specifically to enable this type of stuff, so you could have different apps that could be anywhere and then you can point them at the same blob storage instance.
Exactly.
Okay, makes sense now. Okay.
Yeah, so he talks about using, I believe, the Redis storage provider. Here's the docs for that. And then another way is to authenticate using certificate instead of client secret. So if you configure certificate.
Yes. So. Oh, that's specifically for Key Vault.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, which is, okay. If you were using Key Vault, but you could hit this for other reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, here's Hisham, and he's writing about using JavaScript logging with ASP.NET Core logging APIs. So the idea here is feeding back JavaScript errors and feeding that information feeding those JavaScript events back into your ASP.NET logs. So yeah, kind of neat stuff. Ahmed, he's writing here, this is an overview of different cross-platform DevOps for .NET Core. So how you could set up builds using Cake, AppVeyor, Travis, kind of surveying the landscape of what's available, and specifically looking at cross-platform. So how you're going to set up your build to work on multiple different operating systems. Quick thing here, this is Sean Wildermuth. He's got some ASP.NET Core snippets, and those are updated and exciting and neat. So he's got all kinds of different ones.
Hang on, slow down. This is good.
Yeah.
Control
so the other ones weren't.
Friend.
The other ones were not good.
I'm saying they're all useful, but they're different levels of. They have different levels of immediacy.
Yeah.
And I'm just commenting that what's nice about snippets is, well, let me rephrase. There are sometimes things where it's clear that we as a team didn't have time or forgot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is a kind of thing where it's just a little bit of polish, a little annoyance that maybe he could, now of course he calls it Wilderminds, copyright, whatever. But it'd be nice to get that into the core stuff.
Sure.
That's really nice. Look at DB context. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here's an exciting release from Jeremy Miller. This is Storyteller 4.0. He's been doing all kinds of stuff in .NET lately.
Yeah, he and I were actually doing a podcast on Storyteller, and then his son got sick. But we're gonna get back together and hopefully talk about this. Storyteller's been around for a while.
Yeah. Yep. So nice blog post describing some of the things, and then I dug into the documentation, and I'll include these links. Some of the neat things that are available. Here he's got a nice tutorial explaining what it is, and the idea is it's executable specifications, but they're human readable. So the idea is that you can read, here's what the specifications are. They actually make sense. They're not super code based. Right. And so that's neat. Here's an example.
I've been doing that for a while. like
Yep.
been thinking about what human readable tests look like and sentences and things.
Mm-hmm. So here's two neat features he's included. One is step through mode for debugging. So actually being able to step through your specification and see where it's at.
Mm.
And another neat thing is working with specification markdown. So writing your tests in markdown format. So again, that's pretty neat. I can imagine, looking at a repo and being able to see what the tests are like, in the browser. So here's a neat one, Scott, that you turned me on to, Resolver. You forwarded something on to me for this.
Yeah.
So this is a new open source IOC container for .NET Core, and a lot of features, a lot of neat stuff. It's pretty good documentation. So here's an example. They're talking about things like custom constructor injection, and there's some interesting. Honestly, I'm not a super IOC specialist, but he's got some amazing looking stuff in here, like some pretty neat things using like nested generics. Complex hierarchies.
The data formatter stuff he did is cool too.
Ah, cool. All right. Let's see. I don't know if that's in the docs, but there's a lot of good stuff. There's an interesting thing in here if you dig into this, that the documentation, most of the documentation code samples are actually snippets in his repo that are like have some sort of tag that it pulls them into the docs. So I thought that was pretty neat. Here's an exciting thing.
Cool. That's when people write a book and they don't just copy paste the code into the book like we used to back in the day. We'd actually talked about doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Pulling the data, pulling them, like marking up your code as like sample 1.1, making sure it compiles, tested, and then bringing it into the book automatically.
Yep. Yeah, neat stuff. The Peach Pie folks. So this is neat. We've talked about them before, and the idea here is they're using .NET ASP.NET Core, and they've done some crazy stuff with Roslyn to make PHP run in ASP.NET Core. And so now they've got WordPress running. So that was kind of the big excitement, going beyond simple, hello world to WordPress, which is more complex and also like one of the big PHP apps, right? So really good performance. And one nice thing, people were talking about why would you do that? And I like that they start this out with this motivation. It's like, here's why we did it. Here's why you care, So great, exciting stuff.
And then Ben put PHP on top of ASP.NET Core and ran the Tech and Power plain text benchmark.
I had that link in here too, and I cut it because I had too many tweets. No,
okay,
No, that was really cool to see. He was getting crazy performance, and the Peach Pie folks were actually like, I think that here they're like, that's faster than we thought, So, yeah, here it is. So yeah, pretty neat. He's getting crazy response out of it. So
yep.
All right. So there is a kind of sister ASP.NET Standup. The folks in Latin America reference ours, and they have a local one that they're doing. These are community folks running a stand-up. So I check in with them regularly, and they did a recent post here. This is Sebas, where they kind of ran through how to run ASP.NET Core on Apache with reverse proxy. And so this is kind of a walkthrough of here's what we did, here's our next steps. So this kind of stuff is in the documentation, but it's nice to see kind of, community walking through and here's what we did, et cetera.
These are the Latin American. Yeah. So what's nice about this also, just to point out, is that they gave us a call and they said, we'd love to do an ASP.NET community stand-up, except we'd like to do it in Spanish for folks who speak Spanish. I think we would probably be supportive of other people doing that in other languages if you're interested in like doing that. There were some kind of requirements as far as branding and making sure that you present it as a community thing, but I'd love to see other languages and other locales doing the same kind of work.
Cool. Okay, so CoFoundry, this is a new project for a new .NET CMS. So this is an ASP.NET Core built CMS. So nice to see, both from a code perspective, and then also they've done just a really nice job, in making something that looks pretty nice, that is extensible, and they're looking for feedback too. So, this, if you're looking for a project to get involved with or looking for a CMS, this is something to check out. All right, Dominic, continuing the progress of Identity Server. So here he's talking about WS Federation support. So neat. So Nate's been doing some neat stuff. This is Nate McMaster. So here's talking about integrating Yarn. Yarn is kind of a fork of NPM. So if you want to set up
a reimagining, even.
Yeah.
It uses the NPM repository, and Nate works on our team. He's just through that wall right there.
Yep. Yeah. So he's done this. He did something else today, but I'm only giving him one today.
Nate is definitely worth checking out. His blog is also got a number of really nice things. Great writer and doing a good job.
He's been writing a lot of stuff about migration lately, how to migrate to CS Proj, et cetera, and very thorough documentation, very professional.
Kudos to Nate.
Yep. All right, Steve Gordon, talking about customizing ASP.NET Core behavior using the iApplication model convention. So the two things, he does two specific things in this. He uses a custom prefix for all routes, and he secures all endpoints by default. So he goes through and first of all explains what is iApplication model convention. And then he goes through and does his two things. So he creates his route prefix convention, and then he also does this authorization by default convention. So, nice stuff. Here's one I don't know. This will blow some people's minds, but this is just fun. This is back to Hishem, and here he's done an imagination or a take on web forms. So here he's got a web forms looking markup. And so he's got, ASP:/button, and then he's got, if you actually look through at this, you've got, your kind of standard events on those controls. So interesting to see, and this is all ASP.NET Core.
So Fowler is now in a race with him because Fowler created a similar experiment last year or the year before, but he called it system webification or something. And he came from the other way, so he started out with modules and handlers, and then was trying to move forward from that, whereas Shamko has started from page.cs and is moving back from that. So maybe they'll meet in the middle at some point.
There you go.
And you will have web forms running. No, that's not a promise. I'm not saying that anyone. The community wants to make that work. That would be quite amazing.
Yep. So this is fun. He's got a nice sample here, and then he's also got all the source code for it. So
it's pretty cool.
Yep. All right, and finally, this I thought I'd end with an exciting one. This is announcing the release of ASP.NET Core web development features in Visual Studio 2017. So talking about the ASP.NET Core tooling, of course, the project support, new templates, all kinds of stuff. So I don't know, Damien, if there's anything specific you want to highlight in there or release-wise.
Oh, there's so much. I'll chat about it when it's my turn.
All right, I will. And I
think it's your turn now. I mean, I know
I yield the rest of my time to the gentleman.
I'm not ready. Okay.
I know what to talk about, but what do you want to talk about?
Well, there was a few things. Obviously, we shipped. Yay!
What did we ship?
We shipped. Okay, that's a very good point. I'm glad you asked, Mr. Hanson.
That's what I wanted you to talk about because there's the LTS current stuff. I'm going to write a blog post about this. There's 111. There's 104. There's the tooling. It's confusing until you explain it. It doesn't quite fit in a tweet, but then it's not that confusing at all. It's quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of decisions that were made along the way that have made this, somewhat more confusing than perhaps it has been in the past, or it might be in the future. But certainly for the 1X wave of .NET Core, like from the middle of last year when we shipped RTM of 1.0 runtime to this week when we shipped the 1.0 SDK, there was a bunch of releases between those two times, between June last year and March 7th, just gone, with a bunch of different version numbers. So we just shipped Visual Studio 2017, and at the same time, we shipped the 1.0 RTM of the .NET Core tools. And that means the command line tools, the CLI, it means the SDK, which is the new MS Build-based project system, and build system and stuff like that. It means the tools in Visual Studio Code. It means the tools in Visual Studio 2017 itself. So all that wrapped up together is what we're calling is the .NET Core 1.0 SDK. The thing you use to build .NET Core apps. That just finally hit its final RTM, but we're on CS Proj with all the stuff we've been talking about since we announced we were going to go to CS Proj last February with RC2. The runtime, we have these two sort of branches, right? These two trains, this LTS and current train. So that's the 104 that you referred to. We shipped the 104 of the runtime this week for folks sticking to the LTS side of things, and we shipped the 1.1.1 release of the current stuff. Now, I think most people are probably just moving to current if they haven't already. 1.1 had a whole bunch of new features that you'll never get in 1.0. You have to go onto the current train to get new features. They're both supported for the same amount of time. So if you're worried about support, like official Microsoft support, then 1.1.x is supported for the same amount of time. Or 1.x, I should say, is supported for the same amount of time as 1.0.x. You just have to stay current. Like, so if a 1.2 comes out or a 1.3, you have to move to that. But as we've talked about a couple of times, we're actually already working on 2.0, which will come out in the middle of this year. So yeah, that's kind of what happened this week. I updated the Live ASP.NET site. People can go and look at the source of that and look at how small a change it was. A bunch of package version changes and some redundant code that I removed. Or some packages I removed that didn't need anymore. As far as the blog post is concerned, there's some stuff that landed in this release, which is great. So if you're in Visual Studio 2017, if you've downloaded that and that is your development environment for ASP.NET Core, all project templates now come with application insights enabled by default, which is that single line in the program main. That gives you that really nice Visual Studio debug experience where you can see all the traces coming from ASP.NET Core. You can see all the request telemetry. If you're tracking dependencies, you'll see those show up as well. It's really nice. Even if you don't ever publish to Azure, that code is benign if there's no one listening to it. But during debug sessions, you get that nice experience in VS. We didn't, unfortunately, get a chance to get a few things finished in time for the 1.0. So there's some things that you can add back, or you can add additionally to improve your ASP.NET Core apps. One, or your experience in Visual Studio. So there's two extensions for Visual Studio. There's one that is a Razor tooling extension that brings back the tag helper IntelliSense. And there are links to these in that blog post that John went to.
Are these things that are going to auto Visix update, or are these things
so the Visix that they install from the gallery. You can get updates to them from the gallery, and the intent is that they will get rolled back into the product when they're finished, when an appropriate vehicle comes along. Just to put,
I was going to ask that in like clear English. If I do nothing, eventually it will become a part of the product.
Right, but I wouldn't wait.
Chase it. Go get it now.
I wouldn't, because frankly, to get tag helper IntelliSense back, you're probably going to be waiting months until the appropriate bar of VS update is available to us that we're allowed to put features like that in, because they're not like critical bug fixes. This was an entire missing feature that we rebuilt from the ground up that we've now delivered via an extension. And it takes 20 seconds to install. It's very low impact, and it just enables the tag helper IntelliSense. So I strongly encourage people to go and get that. The other one is an IntelliSense extension that adds NuGet package IntelliSense to the CS Proj file. Similar to what we had with Project JSON, which is one of people's favorite features in Project JSON, getting IntelliSense for package names and IDs. We have an IntelliSense, we have an extension for CS Proj that does it now in VS, so I encourage people to install that. And then lastly, there was a package that we didn't get finished or verified in time to get added into the templates in Visual Studio, but it is finished and on NuGet, which is the Razor View pre-compilation package. So that is what allows you during publish to have all your Razor files pre-compiled into an assembly as part of building your application, such that you don't have to pay that cost at startup with the application after you've deployed it.
View, is it View pre-compilation?
Yeah, View pre-compilation. So
I remember that.
There's a doc about it.
That's a separate thing.
It's a separate package. The intent was to get it on by default in the templates, but we just missed the cutoff, unfortunately. I have it set up in the Live ASP.NET repo, so if you want to look at the project file there, you can see it. It's a single package ref, and then one property, one MS build property that just tells the build system to pre-compile your views during publish. It also does a couple of other optimizations. So as part of publishing, when it pre-compiles your views, it doesn't publish the actual view files. So you don't need the Razor files anymore because you've already compiled them into a DLL, so it deletes those from the publish output. It also deletes the refs folder, which is what contains all the original contract assemblies that are required to do compilation, which you don't need because you've already compiled. So it reduces the size of your output, your publish output, by removing the Razor files and the refs, and just leaves you with the pre-compiled Razor views. As I said, one package reference, one property in your project file, and that will happen automatically for you during publish. So I encourage people who are using ASP.NET Core on the new tooling to do those three things to improve their experience. I was very happy today to finally get Application Insights Service Profiler working in Azure for my application. And I need to show you what this looks like because it is so cool.
Is that more amazing than it has been in the past?
Let me show you.
Because
this
is the default stuff, right?
This is the alligator graph.
No, that's something else. I'll talk about that separately.
I'm confused because I did this because Maria and I went and did the MVA.
I know. So
what is this?
See my screen?
Yeah.
So this is the live ASP.NET Application Insights. This is the stuff I've shown before, right? And you've done it in the MVA. This is, request server response time, how long dependencies took, See these? See this icon there?
Okay. How do I get that? Examples.
So see my home.index, and it says me like how many requests I've had, what the median. If I click on that.
I'm concerned by your WordPress login PHP, but okay.
No, that's not me. That's bots.
Someone trying to log in, someone cheating.
So this is, then look at this view. It tells me.
I've never seen this.
This is live profiling that's automatically managed against my site.
Why is it called examples?
Because it doesn't do it for every request because it's expensive. It literally wakes up. It runs as a site extension in Azure.
Oh, it's an extension.
Right? It runs as you enable all through the portal. You click a button, it sets it up for you. And then assuming you have the correct version of the SDK, and then right now for ASP.NET Core, you have to have a nightly build of a specific version of a framework package. Once you get all those things working, look at this. You start telling. So here's like requests that fall into the 95th to 99th percentile in my application. And these are samples of requests that fit into those. So, okay, this is the request. Somehow I have a request here that took 27 seconds, or 25 seconds, which is a little concerning. Let's look at one of the more reasonable ones. I can click on that. And it's a profiler. It's a proper profiler. So, but it's historical. It's already happened. So then I can click Show Hot Path, and look at that. It drills in. It tells me that I got blocked in this kernel call down here inside libuv for 50. This thread got blocked for 53 milliseconds, which isn't particularly worrisome because the entire request only took 68. But this is live profiling on my running app that's automatically managed. Okay. And the idea is this randomly takes samples of requests as they come into your site, collects them all in a database, and then figures out which ones are interesting based on how long requests to that URL usually take, which is where this whole percentile stuff is. So I could look in here and go, why did one of these requests apparently take 25 seconds? Then you can say turn on framework dependency. So it's kind of like just my code in Visual Studio. So I can turn that off. And now it's going to try and load symbols for all of the code in the .NET framework, or in .NET Core in this case, which at the moment doesn't work. So you're not getting method names in the actual framework. But I'm working with the team right now to figure that out. And then I can say show hot path, and you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. So you can see all the calls inside MVC going on here, taking up thread time. So I'm super stoked that I'm finally seeing this experience work, and then we're working to improve this experience so that it becomes more automatic and more useful for customers who are using ASP.NET and ASP.NET Core in Azure. So
do you want me to
you can download the ETL trace file and then analyze it with something like Perfview offline?
Do you want us to write this up for you?
We'll write it up in what way?
Blog, docs.
So this is already documented. It's already documented up on the Application Insights.
Show us.
So I can go to, for example, this thing I have open already, the Application Insights Profiler Preview, which is on GitHub, Microsoft Application Insights Home, Blob, Master, There's a section here on ASP.NET Core support. And if I go to that, it looks like they've changed. It's not navigating to the right bit anymore. If I search in here for ASP.NET Core, please see ASP.NET Core support. There you go. So you can see here, these are the details of what you have to do to get it working with ASP.NET Core. And this is the wiki. That is badly phrased. It means the 2.0 version of the ASP.NET Core Application Insights package.
That's horrible.
It is horribly phrased. We should get that fixed. This is.
If only we could click edit.
If only I could click edit. I'll do that after the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then obviously the rest of Application Insights is just documented on docs.microsoft.com right here. Azure Application Insights documentation. So it's pretty cool. I am, like I said, super happy that this stuff is finally lighting up with .NET Core. And as I said, we'll just get more powerful over time. So that was pretty awesome. I've been wanting that to work for a very, very long time. What else is going on? We are busy working on 2.0 stuff. So Razor Pages is coming along well. Signal team is hard at work. Oh, the other graph that I've been tweeting about.
That's what I want to know. The alligator.
Yeah, the alligator. I might have it up here, actually. Let's see if I've got... Oh, I do have it up. Let me share my screen again after I stop sharing it. So this is the effort to take everything we learned in Kestrel. Here it is. Everything we learned in Kestrel that we did sort of with hack after hack after hack, and then codifying it into a new managed API, a low-level API, but a new managed safe API that we then rewrite Kestrel on top of. That API is called system.io.pipelines, and it has a bunch of sort of companion APIs, span, memory, some new encoding APIs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is the effort. So the red line is what Kestrel was when we shipped 1.1. Okay, that's what this dev SI branch is. This is dev branch as it was before we started the pipelines work. Okay, and the fact that it's going up and down is just noise. Okay, so like the scale is deceptive. Actually look at the amount of work, the amount of scale. This isn't 0. So this is 1.2 million and this is 1.15 million. So we're only talking about variance of like, you know, 1%.
If it is a bad Y, Edward Tufte would be upset by that Y-axis.
Sure. Well, the problem is if you don't do that, then you just get 2 lines very close together at the top of the graph.
I see. So but it is what, 30% faster?
What's that, sorry?
The difference between the two.
At the beginning it was, yeah. So when we started, this is what in fact, this isn't the full time frame. If I move this slider back a bit, we've basically been at this for 2 weeks. So this is where we started, all right? We were half the speed. So when we first switched over to this new API, we were half the speed. And then you can see we basically made a couple of very large jumps in that first week. One jump there, a smaller jump here, a jump here, which we then regressed. And then we had a big jump here, okay? And that got us pretty close. And then the last 4 days, or 6 days, I should say, we've gone from this number here, and now we're at the point where we're pretty much bang on with what we were with 1.1. So we've, you know, in less than 2 weeks, we've gone from being half of what we were to being where we want. And the benefit is we're on top of this new API, which is cleaner, safer, more pluggable. We have the ability to plug in different transports to Kestrel. We can plug in different HTTP parsers to try different experiments out. The code base is now basically much more maintainable and sets up Kestrel for a bright and happy future where we can start supporting things like HTTP2, custom IO APIs per OS rather than just relying on libuv everywhere, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a really, really big deal and a great effort by the team, not just the ASP.NET team, but also members of the .NET team and members of the community who have been helping drive this number up over the past 2 weeks. So, yeah.
Well, and as you explained to me too, another benefit here is that you've like genericized some of the, like you said, the crazy hacks you did. You've turned them into things like you've spun out things like spans and stuff, right? That are memory structures and different things that are really efficient.
So we basically, rather than having a whole bunch of what, you know, C# that actually looks like native code, because we've basically got native pointers flying all around the place and managing memory ourselves, we're codifying this into proper supported .NET APIs that are designed for building low latency, low memory use, high throughput networking systems, or anything that has to deal with bytes and doing coding and stuff like that, by having it supported in the framework. And so the plan is we will ship Kestrel on top of these APIs as a private implementation detail in the 2.0 timeframe, and then this will become part of the test bed for the APIs themselves, which won't be public at that stage, but they will become public at a later point, hopefully by the end of this year. Then the actual APIs it's built on top of will be well baked because Kestrel would have been running on them for a few months, and then they'll be made generally available. And the rest of the ASP.NET stack can start taking advantage of them at that point because they will flow out of Kestrel. And then, you know, any middleware will be able to grab the request stream and convert it into a pipeline, which is a 0 cost. And then you'll be able to get all the wonderful benefits of using a pipeline versus a stream. So, yeah, it's really great. It's been a really, really great 2 weeks to see the team, as I said, work at that. I have stopped sharing. So I am late for a meeting. So
I'm going to go and see Logan.
Oh, lucky man.
Yes.
So maybe, are there any questions?
I have to go and play Zelda first.
I play Zelda. Anything that people are asking that I need to?
Oh, gosh.
There's a ton of stuff, but we can't do it for an hour.
Okay. I mean, I can literally do a couple minutes and then I have to go away.
There were some questions. We should have like people tag things with questions.
Okay. You know what we should do? How can we do this? We should have can we skip some of the intro stuff and just do a full Q&A
Sure.
show next week?
No links, nothing.
Okay.
Just an all Q&A all the time show?
So if you want, I can set up like a quick little Excel survey thing, and people could post some questions ahead of time too.
Maybe do that and paste it into the chat right now.
Yeah.
I can't post a link into the chat, but I can tweet it.
Well, I'm trying to think we could do something on by putting it on live.asp.net. We need like a quick way, like an upvote thing where it's just like, who wants this question asked? Because right now we ask them in order. We just need like a...
I'm not seeing an awful lot of questions. I'm seeing a lot of discussion in here.
I'm seeing discussion. There's some confusion about versions. There's some discussion around the physics thing.
Yeah, so the version thing for 2.0, that's one of the things that we want to try and clean up a bit. Like the way that you acquire, now that we have an SDK finally that is going to be the basis for moving forward, we're trying to figure out what is the acquisition story and versioning story for the SDK versus the runtime versus the packages and things moving forward. We're trying to clean all that to make it much, much simpler. I think you'll think about it much more like you think about Visual Studio. Like, we didn't always ship a new version of .NET Framework with Visual Studio, but sometimes we did. And the version of .NET Framework never matched the version of Visual Studio, even though people kind of sometimes associate them together. Similar that new versions of Windows tend to come with new versions of .NET Framework, but they're not the same version. It is a little bit similar to that. Like, when you install .NET Core SDK, you get one or more versions of the runtime, a version of a CLI tool, a version of the .NET EXE, which is separate from the CLI technically, and a version of the MS Build SDK that is used to drive the project system. It just all gets wrapped up in a thing we call .NET Core SDK, and we have to give it a version. We essentially just pick one of the versions is what we're going to use for it. So that's why there is some confusion. And then the NuGet versions are separate again. So ASP.NET Core, obviously, is a bunch of packages, and sometimes we have to ship update to one package, not another. So which version gets out of step with the rest of the stuff in the suite. That's versioning in general. However, in 2.0, we're talking about features that will enable us to have much larger meta packages. In fact, at this point, we're talking about having a single meta package that represents everything that ASP.NET Core ships and EF Core. So your standard ASP.NET Core project would have one package reference and nothing else, and it brings in all the API. Now, before you freak out and think, oh my God, my app's going to be huge or whatever, the other feature that we're doing is the ability to have it trim out everything that you don't use, which is great. And if you deploy to a server that either you maintain or something like Azure, you can specify a profile during publishing that says, oh, my server already has all this stuff installed, which will be in the default install, and then your output of publish will be nothing but the stuff that isn't already on the server, if that makes sense. So you would have got everything during development. You didn't have to worry about where your packages came from. You only had to worry about a single version. You compile your app, you run it, it's all fast, it's great. I publish, and my publish folder has one DLL in it, which is my application DLL. I deploy it to Azure, and all the ASP.NET Core stuff was already on Azure. Okay, so that's the world we're going to, but doing it in a flexible way so that you could do it on your own server and all that type of stuff as well.
You have to go.
I have to go. I will stage the Zoom out. Thanks, everybody. Bit of a whirlwind today, but
it was a little crazy. Oh, hang on before you zoom.
Okay. Oh, you got something to show us?
See, look.
Yeah. Oh, it is full Windows. Okay.
It's real Windows. I'm running.
Updating.
It's running Windows Update right now. I plugged in this little tiny keyboard.
Yeah.
I put Visual Studio on it, and
you put a VS on that thing?
Huh? Yeah. Look. Watch. Tiny cameras are crazy. Hang on. Tiny latte panda. Where's the mouse? Mouse. Hang on, I can't see. Over here. Click on the thing.
Jeff Fritz has been needing a new computer workstation.
This is Jeff's new computer. I'm just setting.
I think so. Yeah.
So, stop talking because you're messing up my.
This is riveting.
It is exciting. Look.
There it is, Visual Studio 2015.
You're talking.
I'm sorry. Can you play Candy Crush?
Shut up. Anyway, yes, it's lovely and it works just fine. That's Jeff Fritz's new computer for work.
Lovely.
So enjoy that. All right, let's zoom out.
So Q&A next week? Dedicated Q&A
all
show.
Q&A.
Q&A show.
Let's do
questions ready.
So actually, we need to talk to Maria. Wants to structure this show. She says she enjoys it, but it has no structure.
I enjoy that it has no structure.
Yeah, but at the same time,
it does have structure. John loves community. I talk about some stuff. We talk about your silly, toys.
I think you just kind of made the point.
Sometimes we answer some questions. Structure.
All right. Well, just give me a structured zoom out.
Okay.
Dramatic zoom out. It's so dramatic.
And that's done.
That was bad.